Imagine a place on Earth so remote, so isolated, that it's where we send spacecraft to die. That place exists and it's called Point Nemo. But why this specific spot, and what happens when a massive structure like the International Space Station, ISS, is intentionally crashed there? Get ready for a story of controlled destruction, fiery reentries, and a watery graveyard for humanity's spacefaring ambitions. The International Space Station, ISS, a symbol of collaborative scientific achievement, recently celebrated 25 years of continuous human occupation. This floating laboratory, a testament to human ingenuity and international cooperation, has become one of our species' most impressive technological feats. But, like all things, its lifespan is limited. NASA and its international partners have a plan for the ISS's retirement, a controlled deorbit planned for the end of 2030. This isn't just letting it fall. It's a carefully orchestrated descent using a specially modified, supersized version of SpaceX's Dragon cargo capsule. The ultimate destination? A specific, incredibly remote area in the Pacific Ocean known as the Spacecraft Cemetery, centered around Point Nemo. Point Nemo, named after Captain Nemo from Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, is the most remote location on Earth. To give you an idea of just how isolated it is, Point Nemo sits at coordinates 48 degree 52.6 S1, 23 degree 23.6 W, approximately 2,688 kilometers, 1,670 miles, from the nearest land. That's farther than the distance from New York City to Denver. The closest landmasses are Ducie Island, part of the Pitcairn Islands, to the north, Motu Nui, one of the Easter Islands, to the northeast, and Mar Island, part of Antarctica, to the south. But here's where it gets controversial. Why not reuse parts of the ISS? The sheer cost of safely dismantling it in orbit and recovering the components makes a controlled deorbit a more viable solution, even if it means losing valuable materials. Some argue that we should be investing in technologies to recycle space debris, while others emphasize the immediate safety concerns of an uncontrolled reentry. The remoteness of Point Nemo is precisely why it's chosen as a spacecraft graveyard. Mission planners have sent hundreds of large spacecraft to their watery graves there over the decades. With no land nearby, the risk of falling debris harming people or infrastructure is virtually non-existent. Imagine the bad luck you'd need to be a sailor in that specific location at just the right time. It's a calculated risk reduction strategy. During the fiery reentry, intense heat will rip the ISS apart. NASA anticipates a sequence of events. First, the solar arrays and radiators will detach, followed by the breakup of intact modules and the truss segment. Finally, individual modules will fragment, and the truss segment will lose structural integrity. The external skin of the modules is expected to melt away, exposing internal hardware to extreme heat. And this is the part most people miss. While most of the ISS will burn up or vaporize, some denser, heat-resistant components, like parts of the truss sections, are expected to survive the reentry and splash down in the ocean. In other words, even in its death, the ISS will leave behind a physical legacy on Earth. This understanding of how large spacecraft behave during reentry is based on past experiences, like the controlled deorbit of the Soviet-Russian space station Mir in 2001 and the less precise demise of NASA's Skylab in 1979. Russia successfully guided Mir to Point Nemo. NASA, however, aimed to ditch Skylab over the Indian Ocean, but some charred pieces ended up in Western Australia. The town of Esperance even famously fined NASA $400 for littering a humorous, if slightly embarrassing, moment in space history. This incident highlights the importance of precision and control during deorbiting procedures. Mir, which was 107 feet long and weighed 130 tons, was the largest vehicle ever sent to the spacecraft cemetery. The ISS, however, dwarfs Mir, about the size of a football field and weighing a staggering 460 tons. The ISS will be the largest object ever intentionally sent crashing into our planet. So, as the ISS approaches its final days, remember Point Nemo, the silent, watery grave awaiting it. It's a reminder of the temporary nature of even our most ambitious projects, and a testament to the careful planning required to manage the end of life of these incredible machines. Now let's discuss Do you think sending the ISS to Point Nemo is the best solution? Or should we be exploring alternative methods for decommissioning large space structures? Could we eventually develop technologies to safely recycle or repurpose these orbiting giants? And what are the long-term environmental impacts of having a spacecraft cemetery in our oceans? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.